Now, a Jimmy Mathis exclusive, The Stone Zone, featuring Roger Stone, veteran of 30 years in politics and 9 presidential campaigns, including Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, and Donald Trump. Here is Jimmy Mathis on WBAL News Radio 1090 and the WBAL app.
Welcome back to the Jimmy Mathis Show. Roger Stone joining the program. Good morning, Roger. How you doing, sir?
Delighted to be back with you, and my apologies for our previous Stone Zone. I'm burning the candle on both ends, and Mrs. Stone thoughtfully turned off the bell on my phone, and therefore I was snoring at the time I should have been talking.
Not a problem at all. I have a slightly different theory on tonight than I think most people out there. In a weird sort of way, all of this controversy, for lack of a better word, that's been surrounding Donald Trump over the last 72 hours, does that maybe work in his favor as far as a lot more people will be tuning into the debate tonight than most probably originally expected?
Yeah, I think it does build the audience. As you know, traditionally, Jimmy, the first debate gets an enormous audience. The second debate usually takes a major hit because people's impressions are formed. Now people want to see what happens as Trump addresses this new controversy, if he does, or how Hillary attempts to exploit it. And therefore, you're going to have a lot of pressure tonight, big audience, and Trump has got to needs to get on offense, remain on offense. Well, he has to pivot. He cannot, in my view, afford to talk about what she wants to talk about. He must talk about what he wants to talk about. It's how he got nominated. It's how he handled the Republican primaries. And he should be unfazed. All these Republicans who are dropping of him, this is a never Trump crowd to begin with. They were never for him to begin with. He will make up for them with disaffected Democrats who realize the policies of the Obama-Clinton years are an abysmal failure.
And not just that, Roger, and not just that. Okay, it's also the dereliction of duty from the Republicans. It's because of the leadership of Paul Ryan, of Mitch McConnell, of John Boehner, you know, the candidates that ran back in 2010, took control of the House, took control of the Senate, and have delivered on nothing. There is the frustration, and that is why the vacuum has existed for Donald Trump to exist in the first place. So, fine.
Absolutely. It's actually even worse than that, Jimmy, because they exploit the hot-button issues in their fundraising for the Senate and House candidates as if they're going to do something about it. And then they go to Washington, they work with the Democrats at cross purposes with the party's tenants. And no wonder grassroots conservatives are angry. They send $25 for congressional committees. They find out Paul Ryan is pushing amnesty for illegals.
Absolutely. Look, I don't think it was a bad week for Donald Trump. Okay? Forget the remarks that he made 10 years ago to Billy Bush, of all people. You look, the news broke from the New York Times last Saturday night that he has done nothing illegal in his taxes. Everything's on the up and up. I would be bringing that up. And then you have Hillary's speech has been leaked out. I'd be bringing that up. I'd get back to border security. I'd get back to manufacturing. I'd get back to an anemic economy. I'm just telling you, Roger, maybe I'm wrong.
I agree. I totally agree. I think you're exactly right. You have nailed it. I mean, look, the point of the speeches is very simple. I can say it in a sentence. She says different things in private to the big banks and the special interests than she's saying to the public. It's not that there's something there that is illegal. It's just two different tunes. She's owned by the big banks. She is the Wall Street candidate. And this reposturing, mostly because she had to fend off Bernie Sanders, and we now know because of the WikiLeaks, she had to cheat to do that. She had to cheat to beat an 82-year-old socialist who wasn't even a Democrat a year ago.
I'm going to tell you, Roger,
he's intrinsically weak.
He had a bad showing in that first debate, and he has an opportunity to make good on it. And you could tell that he had some reservation on how aggressively he was going to come out against her. And, you know, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I would be coming out, okay, I mean, with both barrels blazing on her tonight and not holding anything back.
Well, look, I'm sorry. There's always some sensitivity in taking on a woman. And therefore cut him a little bit of a swath on that. I think he was being somewhat cautious.
So does he repeat that tonight?
But... Are you still with me?
Yeah. I mean, is he still...
I'm sorry, we had a broken connection.
I'm sorry. For a second. No, I was going to say, does he still...
No, I thought tone. In other words, you're absolutely right. He needs to get on offense, but it's all about tone. And now I think he has some license. Give the guy a little bit of a break. He didn't want to come on too strong because he knew they would say Trump bullies her, Trump's, and so on. So he scores. I don't agree that he had a bad debate, with some critics who say he did. In fact, I watched the debate, and although he missed some opportunities on mandatory minimum sentences, unbelievable. Her lecture on cybersecurity, outrageous. And she set him up for the kill shot on women.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't take it. Now, perhaps that's because the mainstream media wants the Clinton sex issue to be about indiscretions or infidelity or the Clinton marriage, when it's about none of those things. And it's not even about Bill, only in the sense that he is a serial sexual predator. 13 women are now ready to talk about it. 27 women have been identified as his victims. But it's Hillary's role in terrorizing and bullying these women that is more significant. And that really needs to be, and the mainstream media ignores it. Or in the case of the New York Times piece by Megan Twohey, they bury it.
Right.
They want to change the narrative to, the pain in their marriage and how inappropriate it would be for Trump to bring that up.
Well, when you talk about, Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton, that's a private matter. It's off topic. Yet when Donald Trump had a conversation with Billy Bush on a bus 10 years ago, the whole privacy thing doesn't apply.
I would make the case that it's not words that matter, it's actions. Richard Nixon said repugnant and offensive things about Jews on the Watergate tapes.
Yeah.
But in 1973, he single-handedly saved the state of Israel from total annihilation by airdropping $137 million worth of lethal aid to the Israelis, who had their back against the state. Were quite short by a surprise attack, Yom Kippur, 1973, by the Egyptians and the Saudis, the Syrians, and Nixon does it over the objections of Kissinger. He does it over the objections of the Joint Chiefs. Golda Meir says he saved Israel.
Yeah,
so I think actions are more important than words.
I agree. I really believe that this is a defining moment for his candidacy, and I understand he's debating a woman and all that, but I really think he needs to come out, be forceful, make the pitch. And that first debate for Obamacare not even to come up. He's ran his entire primary election on border security. He doesn't talk about the wall. You need to get back to basics, and I think this is a unique opportunity for him, Roger, and maybe people are laughing when I say that, but I think there's going to be a lot more people tuning in tonight than would have been expected. You look back at last Thursday before all this stuff came out, and I'll tell you something, and maybe I'm off point on this, I don't think people really care about some remark he made on a bus 10 years ago. I really don't. I mean, the media is loving it, and it's red meat, and it's fun to talk about for 2 days. But let me tell you something. She made a point of sandbagging this and releasing it going into this debate because she's concerned about something, and I think that's the bigger story here.
Well, she managed to stay on offense, and she's setting these traps for him, and unfortunately, in two cases, he stepped in them.
Yeah.
Under no circumstances should he have responded on Miss Venezuela. The answer is very simple. Hillary, you're empowering people all over the Middle East who are cutting women's genitals off, stoning women to death, depriving women of the most basic human liberties. And you want to talk about Miss Venezuela?
Yeah, and to boot, you're siphoning $100 million from the Saudis.
Well, the epic corruption of the he never brings up the Clinton Foundation. She actually chides him on minimum mandatory sentences when it is the 1994 Clinton crime bill that gives us an entire generation of young black men incarcerated for the nonviolent crime of possession of small amounts of drugs, and the penalties for rock cocaine are far more harsh and mandatory than powdered cocaine. There's racism for you. There's the racism.
I'm with you, Roger. It will be interesting. Roger Stone, former Donald Trump top advisor, also author of your new book, Clinton and the War on Women. I will talk to you next Sunday, Mr. Stone.
I'm very optimistic about tonight. And anybody who says Trump can't win doesn't understand politics and the fact that 3 weeks in politics is an eternity.
It sure is. Roger Stone, always a pleasure. You can catch Roger Stone on the Stone Zone every Sunday at 9 a.m. on the Jimmy Mathis Show. 9:46, quick break, and we'll be right back.